All day, but it's 6:30, 1:30 usually.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular board meeting of Tuesday, April 12, 2022 at 9 a.m. Let's see here. Well, I guess the first thing we'll do is kind of cool to have it all kind of, spliced together. But it's a glorious day to start a meeting. We had some beautiful rain. We were very blessed with that, and that was wonderful. So let's start with our roll call. Melissa might be better since we're hybridized to call the roll.
Okay, Director Balin?
Here.
Director Boatwright?
Here.
Director Kearns?
Here.
Director Murphy?
Here.
Director Ringen?
Here.
Okay, all 5 directors are present.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, let me see. Jeff, would you be willing to lead us in the pledge then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, at this time, we'll have our public forum, and we would like to welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Person speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. So I'd like to welcome members of the public here that's taking their time to come here in person. And at this time, would you like, or anyone like to address the board? Okay, Corey, any member of the public on Zoom?
I just entered Ann Searscombe, so I'm not sure if she has comment. At the moment, no.
Okay. Then with that, we'll close the public forum and we'll go to the consent calendar. And Melissa, would you
Oh,
please?
actually, sorry. Ann Searscombe just raised her hand for a comment.
Okay. We'll reopen up the public forum. Go ahead, please, Ann.
Mute. Thank you. Sorry, I am. You are quite speedy. So I just wanted to encourage the TUD board to focus on the purchase of the PG&E assets and water rights, and to discourage further action on making a TUD district election. It just seems at this point you have your long-range plan coming up to discuss, and it's a diversion and an unnecessary expense. So please continue with your water rights negotiations and focus there. So thank you.
Thank you. Corey, any other member of the public?
Not at the moment, no.
All right, then that concludes our public forum. Melissa, will you please read the consent calendar?
Okay, number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting of March 8th, 2022 and March 22nd, 2022. Item number 2, approval of reimbursement claims for director's statement of meetings attended and or travel expenses and claim summary for March 2022. Item number 3, consider approving a resolution opposing ballot initiative 21-004-281, the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. And item number 4, consider adopting a subsequent resolution making findings in support of allowing remote meetings pursuant to AB 361.
Thank you. At this time, is there any board member that wishes to pull a consent item?
We have both Director Murphy and Director Boatwright with their hands up.
Okay. Any other, and you, Ron? And, okay, so it looks like these 4 of us would like to pull some items. So with that, let's just take it one by one. We'll start with item 1, and I see Director Murphy's hand up.
Which item are you starting with?
Item 1, is there any comments on that?
So I'm looking through the agenda right now, trying to figure out how this works I thought we just pulled the whole consent thing. I'm still interested in talking about the January, March 8th, 2020 minutes that I think had a mistake in them. And I emailed Melissa and Don about the mistake, but it doesn't look like it was corrected.
Okay, let's see how we should handle this. We may want to just, let's pause right there. Why don't I go ahead and, Director Murphy, do you have any other items besides agenda consent calendar item 1 that you would like to discuss?
No, not on the consent calendar, only the first part of item 1.
Okay, Director Boatright, which items would you like to discuss?
Item number 3, the letter opposing legislation.
Okay, I'm just putting your initials by each one and then we can kind of keep it organized. And let's see, Director Ringen, which ones?
Claim summary.
Okay. And Director Kearns?
Item number 3, same.
Item number 3, okay. All righty, so it looks like no one, 4 is not a concern. So we'll go back to you, Director Murphy, for item 1, and it might be good that we vote on each one as we go. So with that, please, you have the floor.
Excellent. Yeah, I just went back over the recording a few times, and the quote that what we were agreeing on, and it was words that you actually said, President Balin, which was at recording at 1 hour, 35 minutes, was to review and see what we have accomplished, what we have done, and what we haven't. We didn't agree to a workshop. We agreed to a review of the strategic plan, of hearing basically a report out on it.
Okay, thank you. Any other board member like to comment on that? Yes, Director Kearns.
I believe it was, I think it was General Manager Perkins suggested the workshop, correct?
He didn't suggest it. He just summarized things in the end, and I think it was an erroneous summarization.
But the point was,
I thought that was a question for me.
Point of order.
the point was to have a workshop to review I think we're talking about the same thing, Director Murphy. It was just to have a workshop to review the strategic plan. It wasn't to redo it. It was just to redo it.
It was so and maybe it's semantics on my part, but those things mean different things to me, and so I just want to be clear that what is happening is that and just captured in the minutes. And so I sent this whole thing, which is the transcript of that part of the meeting, and what it was that what we did agree on was that the staff, General Manager Perkins, was going to report out to us where we were on the current strategic plan. So as long as we're all in agreement that that's what's happening, that's what I want to make sure is on record.
Thank you. Is there any other director that would like to weigh in on this? Seeing none, I don't see Director Boatright's hand up. Is there any member of the public that wishes to weigh in? Okay. Then let's vote on passing these minutes. Is there a motion?
So how does that work if I had how does that work if I was worried about a portion of them and things didn't get corrected on it?
Well, I guess three realities make a right here. I listened to that thing also, and I got the impression that Don said he would poll the board for a meeting, and that was my interpretation. So it looks like you have an interpretation, and Jeff has an interpretation, I have an interpretation, and we're going to vote on whether we stand by the way the minutes are written or not. That's how it works. So is there Any further discussion, or is there a motion to pass the minutes? Director Ringen.
Yeah, I've listened to this go on and on now, and I was the one at that meeting that suggested that we just review the existing plan, whatever you want to call it, and not do the full-blown deal. So I would move to accept the minutes as they are written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Director Kern seconds. Is there any further discussion? Any member of the public weighing in?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, anybody from the audience? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, and Director Boatright?
You're muted, Director Boatright.
Sorry about that. No.
No, okay. So did you get that, Melissa?
She wanted, should you call?
Okay, thank you, Director Boatright.
Correct.
I,
We will do it. We'll do a roll
let's
call
do a
vote.
roll call.
All right, let's do
Okay.
a roll call vote.
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
I'm sorry, what are we voting on?
the minutes,
It's a roll call, David.
Roll call, no.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
No,
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 3-2.
Thank you. Okay, item number 2, Director Ringen.
Okay, I have several questions on the claim summary. On page 2, under the Bank of America, I saw one of the entries as backflow tester course and exam. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I would like to know if we now are able to do backflow testing in-house. We don't need to hire an outside,
Yeah, so we've had this for a long time.
okay?
Our own backflow testers here, the district has 150 to 200 backflows that we service on our own stuff.
Oh, okay,
So and it's a big cost savings.
yeah. Well, and that was what I was bringing up, is that I think it's really great that we're able to do this all in-house now, so.
Yeah.
That's good. On page 4, Condor Earth Technologies. The reason why I'm bringing this up is not only that, well, first of all, let me state that I'm really happy that the money that we're spending is being spent here in Tuolumne County. But there was 3 different entries there, and we spent about $10,000 with them. And I hope that I hope we're watching over these guys really close. I mean, that's a lot of money. And so I don't know, it's all necessary.
I can provide an explanation, Director Ringen. Yeah, $10,000 is a lot of money, and we are watching them closely. The entries involve kind of 3 distinct things, and Eric could elaborate on one. One is groundwater monitoring, which Director Boatright would be aware of. We're required in the reclamation system to do groundwater monitoring. So that's a kind of a fixed cost. The Phoenix Lake Dam and Spillway, Condor has done kind of 2 things for us. One is they did the design for the spillway improvements, and then they're also contracted to do the inspection. And that contract or that construction project is underway right now. So we're going to see a few more invoices from Condor related to that. They're also involved in the what we call special inspections at the regional plant. So concrete testing for those big clarifier structures, compaction and testing for all the fill material. They'll be involved in welding inspections, pull-out inspections for anchor bolts. And so you'll see that consistently through the regional wastewater treatment plant project. And then the last one, Phoenix Rehabilitation Consulting, is really, it probably should have been coded as part of the dam and spillway. So those are the 3 items they've been working on.
Okay, great. Will we be able to cut down these sort of expenses when we get a new inspector hired?
Great question. I look to Abby because we're actively involved in trying to get a new inspector here. Yes and no. The yes is that there are some projects where Condor probably wouldn't be involved, but we would have to hire out for inspections. So we'll save money when we can use our own inspector. But the special inspections and the stuff related to the spillway, they really are something that a common inspector wouldn't have the aptitude for. These are people that are trained and have certifications and licenses for specific kinds of testing. And Condor provides those. They're the best local resource for that.
Well, like I said, I'm glad to see the money staying here in the county, but I can't wait for us to get a new inspector, one that really, has a lot of abilities. Page 11, this one is kind of different. No B4 Incorporated, yearly renewal. What is that?
So Steve Sheffield, Finance Director. Corey could probably describe it better than anyone else. No B4 is a program we utilize for training staff in cybersecurity, to testing, they're safeguarding both email, internet. It's an ongoing program. Corey, you have anything to add as far as what No B4 and how you're using it?
Yeah, we send out monthly training videos or documentation to all employees, just not only watch just for issue emails, but also how to watch for bad websites, not leave documents around with passwords, just top to bottom total internet and personal security. So we've been doing it for a few years, and
This isn't new. We've been doing it for about 4 years now.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because with all
It's critical right now. We're,
the, as a matter of fact, I've got one here in my TUD computer that I wanted to show Corey at some time that President Valen got hacked in somehow, and I started looking at who the sender is, and that's how I caught it.
Yeah, Abby had a good suggestion. Should our board members be having some of these training sessions too? I could add them in.
Sorry.
Yeah. They're important, right? Because you guys have access into the system as well. And they're really kind of neat videos. They're very short. And I don't know if it takes an entire 15 minutes to complete the course. They're animated. They're kind of fun and quirky. So, but they're useful for sure.
Good. Page 13, pace, supply, and analytical. What's that all about? $250,000.
My turn. I think there's a couple things, right? So there's I know a pace, and there's a pace supply and a pace analytical. So on the pace supply portion, which is the largest portion of these bills, as everybody can see, we're really busy here at the district. We have projects going on all over the place. Phoenix Lake Road, Scenic View area, Phoenix Lake itself, Upper Hillview, Parrots Ferry Road. I mean, we have TUD crews and contractors all over the place on our behalf. We buy all of our purchases for materials from Pace Supply.
Oh, okay.
And so this is just evidence of all of the work we're doing.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we've got a ton of things going all at one time.
and it's exciting.
15 and 16 pages. Sonora Lumber Company, Swallow Deterrent Supplies.
Well, you did a very thorough job looking over this claim summary, and I see you noticed something that really caught your eye. What that is out at the regional wastewater treatment plant, we have the board adopted a CEQA document, and in there is a mitigation monitoring and reporting program. One of the mitigations, or I should say one of the environmental issues out there is related to the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, which historically we've had swallows that nest around the upper rim of the digester. And if those swallows are actively nesting there, there's a buffer or a setback that would have impacted our ability to do construction. So they tend to start building their nest in, February-ish. We kind of think about Valentine's Day and start nesting. So we were proactive and purchased these highly reflective, I don't know what you call them, they're almost like wind chimes. And we put them around the digester as a deterrent for them nesting. It didn't work quite as well as we'd like, but our operators were there to kind of scare away the birds so that we could continue to do our construction. So
Okay, great. I remember when we were, this is back several years ago, we were having quite a problem with pigeons out in the entryway. And at that time I told Tom Sasha, who was our acting GM at the time, I said, those things aren't just a nuisance, but they can carry disease. And so you need to get those things out of here. And he did. I don't know, it was quite a project. It took a while to determine, but all right, on page 17 was Tuolumne County false alarm call out. I hope that we are figuring out ways that we don't get false alarms, because at $108 a crack, that's not fun.
So Steve Sheffield, Finance Director, again, Director Ringen, I think you brought this up before. We have hundreds of alarms. We actively track this. Some of them are the sheriff's office billing for something that was not actually a call. Some of them are actual calls. We had one site where, because the door wasn't real tight fit, when it got real windy, it would trigger the alarm and we'd have them show up. So we are actively watching this, investigating each one of them, addressing it. But, I think we've had a handful, maybe 2 or 3 of these over the past year or so. We watch it. Some sites are more susceptible than others, and we're actively working with it.
Well, that's good. I remember when I had my store and shop open years ago, my counter guy, his girlfriend brought in balloons and stuff like that, and they waved around a little bit, and my alarm went off and I got nailed.
We know.
Last one is one that really is stuck in my craw, and that's also on page 17. And why is it that TUD not only have to, at our expense, at our ratepayers' expense, move the infrastructure out there at Paver White, and now we're getting charged $80,000 in some sort of permits or something? What's up with that?
we'll try to respond to that. That nearly $70,000 invoice that we paid to the county is related to an agreement that was executed between TUD and the county about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, because of the facilities that were out there that TUD owns weren't there prior to the road. The road was there first, our facilities came second, and it's very clear in Caltrans and in county and the Streets and Highways Code that it's on the utility to pay for the relocation if there's a road improvement done. There's certain instances where we can pass that cost on, but this wasn't one of them. And the 70,000 was the no markup cost, direct cost for their contractor to extend the raw water line and relocate, deepen our sewer force main. And we should be done. I think they were out doing a punch list kind of final review of the project yesterday. So I don't think there'll be any other bills. This should be it.
Yeah, it was in the newspaper this morning that they would have been complete this week, but because of the rain, it's going to extend it another week. But that has been horribly expensive for the county and for TUD, and really the person that should be paying for it is that development out there. I mean, it blows my mind. Anyway, that's it for me on that.
I'd like to make a comment on that very item. That would be very interesting. That's a historic portion of the ditch. There's a historic siphon behind that tank at the Pedro Y. The ranch itself is historic. The actual Pedro Y is historic itself. That is part of the original corridor when you go back on some of those earlier maps. So that might be actually an interesting exercise in your spare time, of course, to look at our historic infrastructure and what was there first. I mean, 49, was a trail and probably Native American trail too, but that ditch was built pretty early on as well. So might be worth some cost savings in the future, just saying.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, when we can demonstrate we were there first, we have a basis to protest our cost share for any of that. And I don't want to speak badly about the county or the city. We have a good relationship with them. When they're able to get grant funds and it's eligible, they have carried our cost at times, but this unfortunately just wasn't one of those situations where they had the money. It actually came in way over their budget to begin with, but we were on the hook per our agreement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other director have any other comments on the claim summary?
Director Murphy has her hand up for a comment.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, on page 6, there's the Environmental Science Associates that is $4,000, and it says Sierra Pines CEQA and Sierra Pines Permitting. I'm just wondering if that's renewal of those things or where we're at on that. I didn't think we had much going on up there right now.
We continue to work. When it says Sierra Pines CEQA, it should also say NEPA as well. And so your board adopted the CEQA document. The NEPA document, the federal lead is USDA because they're the funding agency. And we are done with our submission to USDA, but there continues to be a little work on the NEPA side. So that's the 450 there. The Sierra Pines permitting is an ongoing effort with the Army Corps and the State Water Board to secure the permits. We hope to have those by the end of this calendar year, which means that some of this effort will spill over into the next year's fiscal year budget that the board will have to adopt. But we're making good progress on that, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have those permits. Our funding applications are complete with the State Water Board. And we continue to work hard on securing funding.
Cool. And this isn't the time for it, but I would love to hear more about what's going on up at Sierra Pines.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other items, Director Murphy, on the claim summary?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Any other board member wishing to comment on the claim summary? Is Director Boatwright's hand up? I can't tell.
No.
Okay, thank you. Any member of the public at this time wish to comment on the claim summary? Okay, then I will bring it back and ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And let's do a roll call vote then on that.
President Balin, we're just approving number 2 of the consent calendar.
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start off with Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatwright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Now we'll go on to item 3, consider approving a resolution opposing ballot initiative 21004281, the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. And either, David, would you like to go first then, and then followed by Director Kearns?
Director Kearns, I would yield the floor to you to start if you'd like.
Put me on spot, huh? Yeah, I'd like to, my suggestion is to table this. It's 9 pages. I've read through it a couple of times. It's very in-depth, changed a lot of things. I don't have the appetite to just blanketly approve this resolution to oppose this initiative. So, okay,
Thank you.
those are my comments.
Director Boatright.
I'm not sure whether I'm for or against this resolution here. But my concern is putting an item such as this where we're wielding our power of opinion in opposition under the consent calendar, which to me seems to be a streamlining process to move an item through. I certainly think it deserves more discussion before and review before we go one way or the other on this item.
Thank you, Director Boatright. Is any other comments from any director before I ask Jeff to make a motion to table this item then? Would you like to make that motion, Jeff?
Director Murphy, she's not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
I don't know.
Was
if she
there,
was.
I asked if there was any other board member. Okay.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to table this.
Okay,
To table item number 3 on the consent calendar.
okay. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Great. All right, is there any further discussion?
President, I would like to just comment, David, point well taken. I struggled with myself putting that on the consent calendar. But I finally did, in recognition that at least in the past couple of months, or a few months, there's been an item or two such as this that we proposed that's been on a consent calendar. But I agree with you. I struggled with putting it on a consent calendar. I felt like it needed more discussion. So point well taken. Thank you.
Yeah, point well taken. So there's a motion and a second, correct? All right, any further discussion? Want to make sure I catch the screen. No? Any member of the public before we vote? Okay, seeing none, then we'll bring it back for the vote to table. That's the motion, correct? This item, okay. Melissa, please call the roll.
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy.
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that's great. Good, well then I think that we've ticked off all the items on the consent calendar. And if there's no further discussion, we will move on to regular business.
Did we vote on number
President
4?
Balin, we have to do item number 4.
Oh, yes, we didn't pass item number 4 ahead of time, okay. So, yes, item number 4, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution making findings in support of allowing remote meetings pursuant to AB 361.
Okay, is there a second? This is-
I did not hear Director Kearns' motion.
Here, I'll tell you what, I'll read that. I was kind of bent down there, sorry. I'll make the motion to adopt a subsequent resolution making findings in support of allowing remote meetings pursuant to AB 361.
I'll second that.
Great. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Any members of the public? You can't see? Okay, any of our homies here? All righty. Then let's have the vote. Melissa?
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy.
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and just to clarify, this is our ongoing to allow directors to either come in from their homes or show up live. That's just saying that's what this was. Okay. All right, regular business. Item number 5. Melissa, would you please read that item?
Okay, water supply update.
Or you can go to the post, but they can't see you.
We're gonna be connecting his computer so we can present. Just one second.
Is there a PowerPoint you have, Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, just so you guys know on Zoom, there's a PowerPoint coming. Yes, Director Ringen.
So how much rainfall did we get yesterday? Was it,
Quarter inch.
oh, not very much
Yeah,
then?
not a lot, yeah.
But we got snow,
We got 6 inches of snow at GM.
Oh, really?
more important.
By noon, I heard 6/10 of an inch at the train yard by the plant.
Well, that's up.
Yeah,
Better than nothing.
you got it.
Okay, Glenn Nunley, Senior Engineer, got a water supply update. You can see the screen, so I'm gonna get this started. Okay. Yeah, so your question, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot, but there was, yeah, it's cold and this little weather pattern did bring some welcome precip to the area. And the neat thing is there's actually a little more in the forecast too coming up, so with this, California is entering a third year of drought conditions. So what we're facing is primarily what's happening in California as a whole. So there's TUD has 2 primary storage reservoirs that we rely on, and they will fill and spill this year. You've probably heard me say that before in other presentations. And that's what gets us through the summer and through the end of the year. And our water supply resets each year. So we're not as prone to impacts from multiple drought years, but one very dry year can impact us, so we're kind of different. We do expect an early end of spill this year, and so that will have an impact, and our water supply will be stressed this year in that respect, where by the time we get to Labor Day, we expect both Lions and Pinecrest to be lower than we like them to be. So that's kind of the main stressor we're looking at. To put this into perspective, in 2019, we had a total of 43 inches of rainfall here in Sonora. Normally it's 32 inches, so that was a good year. 2020, 2021, and now 2022 were pretty low. 25 inches in 2020, 15 inches total in 2021, very dry year. We're now sitting about 17 inches here in Sonora, with some more in the forecast and the weather is cold. The early end of spill last year was very early. It's about early June 7th is what we were facing. And hopefully we won't be that early, but that's going to be about the range we're looking at in this year. Sure. Okay, so statewide, this is kind of a neat graphic. It's very indicative of the kind of weather and precipitation that we receive. So the little cone area and shaded area is a normal snowpack that we see is kind of statewide. And that's really what it looks like in our local watershed too. That black line is the trace pattern that we took for our snow in the watershed. So very early on there in December, bam, we got a bunch of snow. We're sitting at 120, 130% of normal at that time. And then January, February, and March was very little precipitation. So it kind of takes a cutoff. And then now the snow is normally melting, as you can see. So that into perspective, we had 15 inches locally of rainfall, and normal is about 10 inches for October through December. And then January through March, we normally see about 17 inches, and we only got about 1.6 inches those last 3 months. So that's the big impact that's really occurring. Statewide, we have enough, and we learned early on that we would fill the reservoirs, which is a good thing. So this slide, this is the just the April 1st snow survey, about 38% statewide, 38% of average, so that's pretty low for the rest of the state. The next slide. This is just another graphic showing a similar trace. We're located in the central region. State of California breaks it up north, central, south, and in the entire state. I think we're sitting at about 35%. I think this is April 1st, the snow survey. So we're sitting at about 35% for the central region. The next slide. This is what the state's monitoring. So this drought monitor uses a number of parameters. Grazing lands are impacted because things have been so dry. We have an extended fire season, wider spread, more drivers for dry conditions. Trees are stressed, wildlife are stressed. And so, yeah, we're in a D2 here in Tuolumne County, and much of the state's even drier.
Excuse me, Glenn,
yeah.
question? I can barely read it. Is the map on the right, April 2021?
Yes.
So that was our pattern
Okay.
last year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Which was actually a little drier. And so this is the cumulative effect of having multi-year drought conditions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next slide. So locally, we're looking at about 33% of average snowpack for our local region. And again, you can in fact, remember in 2014, Eric and I going up to the watershed because can you actually see the snow? Can we just go look at it? What's it look like? And it's actually kind of a neat website with Dodge Ridge. You can go in, you can see their base and their mid-level and the summit. There's snow. This storm did bring in some snow. It's good to be able just to see it. But in this case here, we have about 33% of average of the April 1st snow survey. And in this case, now we're looking at about 60% of runoff right now from the Bulletin 120 through the state of California for Stanislaus River. We should see about a 60% of the normal runoff pattern from the snow. That can change. We still have another snow survey to go through. Then, so in this case here, I'm showing the reservoir storages, capacity and average to date. That's where they're at now. They will fill and spill, so they'll go to 100% full. And again, we need to watch if we have an early end of spill. Precipitation now is about 17 inches total, 32% average for the year, and we're about at 58% right now of precipitation for this time of year. And then the 5-station index that we watch for our central region, we're about 64% or 22 inches. And this is next slide is just the outlook. The updated one from yesterday shows a similar pattern. We're a little bit more normal temperatures and normal precipitation outlook, drier in the south for the next 8 to 14 days. You get much further than that, and it's kind of hard to believe, or the accuracy starts to degrade. But it's helpful. It's keeping the snow up there longer.
Glenn, color challenge. So what is that color telling us?
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, you're right. The colors are, mine's black and white.
Oh.
Okay. Where you have green, the green areas is good.
Or in Washington.
Yeah, I got
Talk to Tuolumne County.
Yeah, he can't see the colors.
No, I got you. Okay.
Tuolumne County, is that below
Yeah.
or average precipitation?
So right now it's showing a below average precipitation in Tuolumne County. The updated screen shows it more in the normal range.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then Southern California goes to a lower or below normal precipitation. And so Tuolumne County is sitting kind of right in the middle. It's sort of the
the La Nina, El Nino years don't really impact us because we're kind of on that transition line. So anyway, it's what we look for, what I look for here is, do we have a big dark brown blob sitting over us that's blocking all storms from coming in? And that, we don't have that here, so. And then, okay, next slide. I'll probably leave a lot of this for Lisa. She can come up here and talk, but the California Water Resources Control Board in January have provided a prevention of waste and reasonable use of water. And so they're looking at general sort of common sense use or misuse, or the avoidance of misuse of water. And there's a number of items that they're listing here. Not washing cars with a hose that doesn't have a shutoff valve, watering turf just prior to actually receiving rain, or allowing water to run off of turf and lawn and in the landscape. The state's really coming down to make sure people are using water wisely and beneficially in that respect. Next slide. Then just from a TUD customer standpoint, TUD customers are using about 15% less water than in 2013. So from a conservation standpoint, the TUD customers are achieving that, and that's what the driving force has been with California now for the last 20 years. Right now, we are about 14% below the state average for 2020 and 2021. And this is in part due to the Water Conservation Act of 2009, Senate Bill Extraordinary Session 7-7, which required TUD to achieve on the order of 165 gallons per capita per day. Right now, TUD customers are using about 133 gallons per capita per day. That was both last year, or in 2020, and through 2021. And so that's one of the items I wanted to show. And at this point, the water conservation measures that are coming down from the state are then looking for voluntary action of up to 15% for all Californians. And so with that, the TUD is implementing our phase 2 elements of our water shortage contingency plan, which comes into effect when we see less than 50% of the runoff in the from the watershed, although we're about 60%. And then again, there's not necessarily a water shortage because the reservoirs will fill, but we do have a stress system with the drought here in Tuolumne County. And so the district will be rolling out a water conservation and a public outreach to be using water beneficially this year. Lisa, want to add any more to this, or?
You're doing great.
All right. Next slide. So the district will be offering a new toilet rebate program, and more information can be found at the TUD website as listed on the screen, to replace old toilets that have high flow in the, I'm going to say 3 to 4 gallons per flush range, and high efficiency toilets are in the 1 to 1.6 gallons per flush range, I believe. And so that'll help conserve some water. And that's all I have. Hopefully I've gotten the information out of what our water supply is for Tuolumne County.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you. Don't go away yet. I'm gonna see if there's any questions. Okay. All right. That was great. Any director have questions for Glenn? I have.
We do have Director Murphy and Director Boatright both with their hands up.
Great. Okay, go ahead, Director Murphy.
Just a quick question on the toilet rebate thing. Is that just for, I'm assuming that's just for people who are ratepayers for the TUD treated water system. Is that true?
Yeah, this is Steve Sheffield, Finance Director. That's correct. We've actually had a rebate program since we started for 30 plus years. After 1991, all new houses were required to have a efficient toilet. So your home has to be built before that. There's a list of approved toilets on there. Last time around, we did it in conjunction with the Resource Conservation District, and it applied for the whole county. It was quite a challenge running that program, but this one it is just customers as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boatright.
Thank you. My concerns for the toilet rebate have always been the same. Our hydraulically driven collection system derives its power from the water that is put into the system. If we continue to reduce the water, we no longer have the power to push the solids to the treatment plant, resulting in sanitary sewer overflows due to debris in the pipelines. And a thought just occurred to me as we were going through this. I kind of wonder if we were to look back in the, late 80s and early 90s as to our number of sanitary sewer overflows versus how they ramped up as society has figured out how to reduce. They call it wastewater. It's water used in our houses that needs to go through treatment before it goes back into the environment. But we're going to have to, at some point in time, move towards a system that doesn't rely on water for the power to, push the solids to the treatment plant or some other design of system if we continue to push that. So anyway, that's my soapbox. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Director Boatright. You're making a good point because the directors became aware of the additional costs for us, the burden of conservation in terms of lack of water. So it is a concern. Yes, yeah.
And this is Steve again, Director Boatright, just to chime in here, in looking at this, historically, the toilet rebate program, like I said, we've been offering it for 30 years. And so this isn't brand new. We're not going to all of a sudden have 15,000 toilets come on, dramatically impacting the water flow. I think in the last time we did, we're averaging 20 or 30 a year on that. And even as the governor pointed out in his mandate, the real concern is with not the indoor residential water. It's much more so the bulk of the flow, my understanding, the bulk of the flow has to do with irrigation and some of these other practices. And yes, when we first had the big drought in 2014-15, as you're well aware, that did impact the sewer operations and how they did that. So, I think Glenn's numbers clearly show, and this concerns me, that our customers have cut back and they've done this. So just to have this across the board 15% reduction doesn't make a lot of sense for TUD. And so those things need to be looked at. But of course, being more efficient, being conservation minded, tracking these things is critical importance in here. But I really don't think the toilet rebate program will have any negligible effect on that. But we'll keep a close eye on it.
Steve, I totally agree with the conservation and the need to look into the future to change the way we're currently, conveying the solids that are treated. But, I think overall, if we look at it going back, the changes in the washing machines and all that, and certainly I agree with, everything you said there. But it's been a change over the last 30 years that has taken place that has driven that, the need for a change in our collection system.
Thank you. Yeah, Director Ringen.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what the discussion is right now, but I do want to remind everybody that the sewer system is in much better condition today than it has been. And I know GM Perkins and I went out and visited the Twain Hart, I want to call it an intertie, that's not right. Interceptor. And that when you add together all those improvements, the flow is going to be, I'm certain, much better. Maybe not, it maybe won't be as powerful as it was before all these conservation things went in, but at least you won't have the hindrances in the pipes themselves.
Anything else, Director Reagan? Okay, Director Burns, have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
We have Director Murphy with her hand up again.
okay, go ahead, please, and then I'd like to say something. Go ahead, please.
So I just want to be clear on kind of the conservation message in my own mind of what we are putting out, because I just got a little confused in there. And I'll just paraphrase what I think I have heard, and correct me on where I'm mistaken. So I believe that what you were showing was that back in back almost a decade ago, that we were asked to do conservation. Tuolumne County stepped up, did conservation. We feel fairly good about that level. The state of California is asking us to do a voluntary 15% reduction. For our system, it would be better if people are doing the reduction on their outdoor landscape outdoor usage than their indoor usage. Is that correct? But if you have an old toilet that is a high consumption toilet, you can go onto our website, and you have to go, I was searching around a little bit. You have to go into the conservation part to find the toilet rebate program. But if you have one of those if you have an older house, older toilet, you can replace that, and the benefit would be likely less leakage as well as just the volume per flush. And we are encouraging that. And then from what I remember from last year, I had a lot of questions last year of why we weren't publicizing conservation more. And my understanding was in alignment with what Director Boatwright just brought up, that our system relies on a certain amount of household wastewater going through the pipes in order to aid the gravity system to get everything to the wastewater treatment plant and make that work. And on occasions when we don't have, what I believe I heard before was, in times when there is not enough in those pipelines, we actually do have to put water into the wastewater lines to clean them out, to get the stuff moving and get it to the wastewater plant. Am I right on that stuff, or please make the corrections where I need them?
Well, maybe I'll go. What I think largely I heard you say was correct in what you heard and what we are expecting our customers. You had a kind of a question about, in your mind, why we should have done more outreach for conservation last year. Well, in my mind, we did an appropriate amount of outreach last year. Could we do more? Perhaps, but I'll remind you.
I'm going to interrupt for a second. That wasn't a question. I just had a lot of questions last year why we weren't doing that. And so my explanation to them was that our household water usage actually needs to be a certain level in order to get the wastewater. That was my answer. And I'm wondering if my answer is correct.
I think there'll be differences of opinion here. I personally don't know that we have any physical evidence that so far the reduction in water flows in the sewer system are leading to more SSOs. In fact, you will see we've kept track of our SSOs per year over many years now, and you can see that our SSO occurrences are not drastically, but reducing. So there's evidence to me that our SSO numbers are reducing.
And what is SSO?
Sewer sanitary overflow.
Thank you.
However, I can't argue the fact if we don't put any water in the sewer system, we will definitely have a problem moving solids through the system. That's a discussion for another time. But again, let's remind ourselves that we don't want to discourage sanitary use of water. One, it's sanitary. People need to be clean. We live in a civilized society. We need to clean ourselves and get things clean. So I think that's important. And two, recognize that 100% of our sewer water that gets treated, it isn't wasted. It is put to beneficial use in the ag lands down below.
Yeah, so I guess that's still, none of that answered actually the question that I had. So the question that I had was, is it accurate that the reason that we don't push harder for conservation is because that we need, like, one, that what I'm hearing you say, Don, is that we don't have a need for it. And I think I heard the things that I heard is, and these are the explanations I've been giving people when they ask why we aren't doing conservation, when they hear that the state is. So what I've been answering to people is, because we have Pinecrest and Lyons Reservoir, we feel that we will be, even if Indus Spill comes early, we feel that we will have the water to cover the needs of the municipality. Second, for our system, it's more beneficial for people to say, if for conservation to happen on outdoor landscaping than in household. So that's what my understanding had been, based on stuff that came up last year in the meetings about, somebody brought up about how, and I don't remember exactly how it came up, but it was clean outs of the sewer system, that there was a concern that if household reduction, if we encourage too much household reduction, it makes our system less efficient, and then we end up using water anyway to clean out the system. And that the district feels that the cuts that were made back in, and I can't remember the year in the presentation, were still adequate to keep up with things, but with the state encouraging another 15%, from what I'm hearing said in the meeting, I'm assuming we are encouraging people to, if they're working on conservation of that 15%, that would be, the encouragement would be on outdoor use. Am I hearing all of that stuff correctly?
Yes, you are. In my estimation, you are hearing that correctly.
Okay, I just want to make sure that what I'm saying is what I'm getting from you guys, not something that I'm misunderstanding. So very good. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to weigh in on this also. A couple of questions, Glenn. When typically does TUD then, because you're watching the end of spill and watching the events, and of course we are conserving in accordance to the state executive order that does exactly, it just talks about don't overwater the sidewalk. I mean, it's a definite urban, what you put there, that's an urban guideline that hardly any of us could relate to here, but nonetheless, that is a California executive order on how to use conserve treated water for outdoor use. That's the executive order. I'm just quoting that, and it's statewide. So back to the question though, Glenn, typically when are we going to call, or when do you call PG&E regarding to hold off on emptying Pinecrest down the Philadelphia ditch? Because let's face it, we're caught in this conservation trap that's statewide, even though we don't really benefit from it. And so we're holding the water in Pinecrest that we conserve, which is, not our reservoir, and a lot of that just evaporates. And a lot of it then goes down for power. So when would you typically monitor that and call PG?
So that then would be a matter of determining will the reservoirs fill. And so that's what was occurring in 2014. We started the end of the calendar year with pretty much no precipitation in the forecast. High pressure system blocking most of the storms. At the same time, that was the reservoir levels were low, and so relatively low. So we couldn't determine with certainty that we would actually fill the reservoirs. So that was a determination. Let's hold off on diverting water. That's a request to PG&E until we can get some certainty that we'll actually fill. Once you have either fill and spill in action or a forecast to fill and spill, and that's actually some language I believe is in the contract or the agreement, then we're good, because there's nothing, you can't store more water than the storage capacity that is existing in the system now. And then, and so that's when we would make the determination to request PG&E, yeah. And so once it's a forecasted spill, they are in control, and they own and operate it for power generation. And so then that's when the end of spill. As soon as the end of spill happens, then we say, okay, let's hold back all the storage to get through the Labor Day, so that we're all balancing the beneficial uses for recreation, in-stream flows for environment, and the TUD supply, county water supply. And then once you get past Labor Day, then PG&E takes over and then begins using water again, stored water at Pinecrest for hydropower generation. And there's enough water between Labor Day and the end of the year that PG&E always runs several thousand acre feet, and then begins to bring Pinecrest down low. And then we start the cycle all over again.
Thank you. It is complicated, so it's great.
Yeah, Director Boatright, does he have a comment?
Go ahead, Director Boatright.
Thank you. Question for Glenn. I think you might have answered it, but a little bit differently. Have you and Eric Hall been in negotiations with PG&E or talks with PG&E to keep Pinecrest at a slightly out of normal capacity through this year? Because it seems like it's at a much higher than average, it is at a higher than average level. Is that due to talks that have been going on?
No, they're higher than average because of the rains, the precipitation that we got in October and December. And so the normal operations would be to draw Pinecrest down to say 5,000 or 6,000 acre feet at the end of the year. The precipitation actually held Pinecrest relatively high through the end of the year. And so with the amount of snow and the reservoir storages at that time, we knew we're going to fill and spill. And we also said, well, we got 3 months of precipitation ahead of us. No, that didn't happen. But we still knew that things were fill and spill. And so this was all PG&E operations. We didn't have a say in how they operated Pinecrest once we had a fill and spill determination.
Hey, Director Kearns.
Yeah, Glenn, how does that new, was it the 403 certification we got here a year or so? 401 certification. Is that playing into all this as well, Glenn?
There's an amendment to that, so that's been modified to allow for a very early end of spill year. So if this year turns out to have a very early end of spill, then there's much more flexibility in the 401 certification guidelines. And
June 15th sticks in my mind. Is that one of the dates?
6.
Yeah, I think it's actually a sliding scale. As you get as you go earlier, then there's allowances for a lower Pinecrest.
Right.
And then, but at the same time, and probably as important, if not more importantly, then it's under an approval through the Forest Service. So then TUD will work with the Forest Service on that. And
okay,
that's the important part.
Thank you.
But there is an allowance in the 401 cert.
Thank you. Any other questions for Glenn? This is a good discussion. Any member of the public? Corey, do you see folks?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, any member of the public here? Okay, great. Well, I think this is just that you guys recommend the district begins public outreach. Oh, and Lisa, you're going to be up next on this topic as well?
No, well, I could just add to what Glenn, we have to follow what is in the executive order. So we'll be doing increased public outreach after May 25th.
I think it would be really helpful to give the board of directors those executive orders, email them out to everybody, because it really does clarify what the state issue is, which is really not our issue, but nonetheless, we must comply with it. And I think that will give the board a collective background on what drought looks like statewide. We, like John had said, 100% of our water does not go into the ocean. We have absolute downstream beneficiaries. And a lot of these measures were developed in the coastal communities for the reason that when you water your lawn with treated water, it goes into the ocean. That's, ours creates, you know, habitat and food and whatnot and industry for ranchers. So it's very different as we get into the politics, if you will. And drought can be regulated also, but that's what they call regulated drought, state regulated drought. May not be actually a drought somewhere, but the state has determined that it's a drought. So that would be a good idea to pass those executive orders to the directors.
Barbara, the most recent executive order is part of this board packet. So,
but there's that first one that talked about all that treated water, the potable. It was great to see the potable use. That is what they are concerned with. That's an earlier executive order, 15 or 29, something like that, for 2015.
We'll find it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Anything else, Glenn?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Glenn.
Okay.
great, good job. All right, Melissa, would you please read our last item?
Okay, item number 6, the board to set a date for Wednesday, May 25th, 2022 at 10 a.m. for a board workshop to review Tuolumne Utilities District's 2020 strategic plan.
Okay, President Balin, members of the board, Don Perkins, General Manager. Given this item a lot of thought and over the past month or so since we've been talking about it. And to date, a lot of other things have come into the fold. There are many things that this district is working on, your staff is working on your behalf and trying to bring you in the right order as far as timeliness goes. So, you know, I do have a desire to provide you with just an update of the existing strategic plan. There are 7 goals, and I think it would be good for you to hear an update on all 7 goals. The challenge I have is we have these competing needs for these dates. The date that's on this the staff report, May 25th, has now already been gobbled up by Steve. Steve has to get you a budget status report on soon, very soon. We're staff and Eric and both Erics all working on the next year's budget, O&M budget, as well as they're also working on a capital CIP budget for us all to approve very, very soon. So there's competing needs, and then we have the PG&E stuff and the communication outreach. So the timing of this is just not good for me right now. But what I would like to do as a strategy, I'm asking for some advice from the board, some sort of consensus. But what I would like to suggest that we do for you is that sometime in the future, maybe right after the fiscal year, let's get through the budget adoption piece, and then let staff come to you in a series of board meetings with an update to 1 or 2 of the strategic goals at that time, so that it'll be brief, it won't be burdensome, it won't be an extra meeting, and we can be really precise about these specific goals, and we can kind of focus on those goals and have a genuine dialogue. So in the end, that's what I'm asking for now. I know what the staff report says, but like I said, that date's been gobbled up already. Rightfully so. So I'm asking if sometime after the new fiscal year, staff can bring to you in successive board meetings 1 or 2 goals to present an update to you. How does that sound?
I like it. I think that's a good idea, Don. I'd be in support of that.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
Okay, David, Lisa, what do you think?
Well, one comment, the speakers going back and forth, having attended the last board meeting in the boardroom, I found it difficult to hear the online community, and now as a online community member, I'm finding it hard to hear the boardroom. But if I heard correctly, General Manager Perkins would like to add to our current strategic plan a couple of items. Is that what I heard?
Sorry, David, I'll speak up and I'll speak to the microphone, I think. Rather than what the staff report says about picking a date to bring you an update, a special meeting or a workshop, or however you want to call it, rather than doing that, after the new fiscal year, staff will bring to you in successive board meetings 1 or 2 updates to the existing strategic goals. So just give you an update. So we have 7 strategic goals on our existing strategic plan. What I'm suggesting is after the fiscal year, we will bring to you 1 or 2 updates to those goals until we get all 7 updated.
All right, thank you.
Director Murphy has her hand up for a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Director Murphy.
Just additional clarification so that I understand completely. These are informational sessions and they'll happen after the close of that. So next fiscal year, which begins when?
July 1st.
July 1st. Okay, so after that, as is reasonable with the agendas we have and all of the other stuff that we're balancing, we'll be getting information sessions at board meetings where maximum 2 of the targets would get brought to a meeting, and it would be information only, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just double
I
checking.
think that's the way I see it. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. I know everybody is competing for time, but.
Director Boatright has his name.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead, Director Boatright.
I would be a little bit concerned if we're only going over a piece at a time or a piece or 2 at a time, weeks apart, because of the way the strategic plan is all tied together. And some of the items, impact other portions of the strategic plan. That would definitely, need to be taken into account if we're only going to, basically see the whole series 2 weeks apart, an episode at a time, so to speak. It may be hard to keep up with.
Maybe can I comment on it? Director Boatright, I think you bring up a really good point, and it kind of gets a little bit closer to my feelings, which is one of the benefits of the board meeting together, even in person, but certainly dedicating some time to look at the intricacies and the complexity, like you were talking about, of how one of these strategic goals affects some of the others. It's a really amazing exercise with no pressure to vote, to all of us work and learn how to work together as a team and bring up things in an atmosphere that is cooperative and civil, et cetera. And I miss that. I miss that workshop kind of effect where we really can bat things around in an organic way. We do that in closed session. I think we do a pretty good job of that. But I think one of the benefits of reserving a space, like you said, is to actually look at how all the parts affect the whole and how and give the board an opportunity to work together. So that's maybe my sentiment where I understand Don's going is we can weave these in, but that's to me what and for the sake of time, but yet there's something that's lost to me as a teenager. Okay, go ahead, Director Regan.
This is for our GM. You don't, the way you advanced that idea, I'm assuming, which is never a good thing to do, that you're not looking for any kind of changes in the strategic plan. This is just a review of what we got accomplished and what's still left to be accomplished.
That's correct. We set out a couple of years ago to accomplish 7 goals, right? It's time to give you a status update on where we are, what we have done and what we haven't done. That's simply all I really want or have a desire to provide you. It's been a while. That's all. But
That
pleasure.
sounds reasonable.
Pleasure. Whatever.
And why don't we leave it to where it could be 2 or more, or 1 or more, so we're not frozen to 2.
Sure.
Just give you the flexibility of that. I can defer to that. Director Kearns, you had a comment.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have the workshop on the 25th of May. And so that we'll know exactly where we're at on the strategic plan after that meeting, correct? We should.
No, you missed my point. Since the writing of this staff report that I wanted to get this 25th, but like I said, Steve needs that time. So that date's not even available anymore.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So in lieu of that, I wanted to suggest this
Gotcha.
other.
Okay. I gotcha. Thank you. I apologize.
It's okay.
So I believe just so we can make sure our minutes are correct, we have a more or less, Director Boatright, go ahead, please. I didn't see your hand.
It actually just got raised as you started talking, Madam President. Is the conflict, and I understand that, the budget needs and staff time, to get those items going. I do like the way this item is listed out as a workshop. Would it be better just to push this idea back until after the start of the new fiscal year?
If that's the pleasure of the board, I can do that too. I just throwing out a suggestion.
And that was July 1st?
After July.
After July 1st. Okay.
We
And
can
I
bring
just
it.
want to, sorry, my hand is up, but
Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I just want to reiterate that this is a report from the staff to us. It's information. It's not, we're not breaking into this and looking to change it. This is a report to us on where we are so far on this 2020 strategic plan, correct?
That's the way I'm trying to say it, yes.
How about we have, Dawn, you summarize your idea, which I think we'll weave into lighter agendas after July 1st. Could you maybe summarize it for our minutes?
Sure. So I would suggest that after July 1st, I bring to you in successive board meetings a number of goals, 1, 2, or 3 perhaps, that we can give you brief updates to until we get through all 7. And there'll be information items only, a little bit of discussion. You might have questions and answers, things of that nature. Sorry, Melissa, that probably wasn't very clear.
So I think we have
I agree.
a green light on that.
Okay.
Okay. So Lisa and David, are you okay with how Dawn summed that up?
The piece that I just want to be clear on is that this is staff reports to us, informational with questions and answers.
Correct.
Okay, staff report. Okay. I think that's clear.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Director Boatright, are you okay with this?
We could move forward with that, but I think eventually, Madam President, we are going to have to, do as this item actually says, actually have a workshop and a sit down and go through, the whole thing piece at a time. It'll be a good, refresher and reminder of where we're at. But I think we're still going to have to, hold a workshop eventually to look at the whole thing and then move from that workshop to where are we at in a timing for a strategic plan update.
Good point. And on that point, we'll make sure that we throw the dart at the calendar super early so we can get that date on there after we do this exercise. Okay. I think
Thank you.
we're all in agreement. Great. Thank you, and good discussion on that. All right, so let's move to staff reports.
I'll go first. I'll be brief. I have 2 items. Tuesday, April 5th, Abby, myself, and Eric Hall down there invited ourselves to CCWD, Tallahassee County Water District. And we met with them, their general manager and staff. We also met with Utica Power. And then one other outfit that I can't seem to remember their Union.
Union Public Utility District.
So we invited ourselves over there to have a discussion with them regarding mutual aid agreements. I probably just said mutual assistance agreements. The idea of having a mutual assistance agreement. You know, locally here in Tuolumne County, we've had a number of these things over the years, and they're kind of dated now. We've had with Jamestown Sanitary District, Tuolumne, and maybe even Twin Arcs CSD. But they've either expired or they're just stale and need to be updated. Well, in having conversations locally here or internally here with staff, you know, if you don't remember, back in December we had this major storm occurrence, causing lots and lots of damage to our site, both PG&E's issue systems and our systems. Well, backing up, one thing that I learned a long, long time ago is if I'm in trouble, I'm not going to be bashful. I'm going to pick up the phone and start calling for help. So I did. I sent a message to Joel Metzger at Utica, Mike Minkler at CCWD, just saying, hey, we've had this incident over here. We may or may not need some help. And they've replied they'd be happy to help so long as they don't have an emergency. So anyway, we didn't end up needing their help. But it occurred to us through this whole thing, not with just those folks over there, but over here, we need to update our agreements, our mutual aid agreements, and or have one with those over there. Well, they were very thankful that we brought this up. They're excited about the opportunity to work with TUD and other agencies on this side of in this county and their own county. So it was a great productive meeting. It was good to meet those guys. We took a tiny tour of their new facility over there at CCWD. So Abby is now working with somebody over there at CCWD to draft come up with a draft agreement. And so there you have it. Once we have something sort of in place, we'll talk to Twain Harte, Jamestown, and all the other districts here locally, and possibly even the county. Now, sorry, so that's the. Oh yeah, and Lisa wanted me to remind you that we have a reclamation luncheon tomorrow. That's Posse Grounds. Right? He's gone. That's all I have.
Thank you. That was great.
Nothing to report this time.
Okay, great. Steve?
I'll just tag on to a couple of things that Dawn mentioned in there. You know, we're actively working on the budget for next year. We're doing our detail with all the staff and supervisors. At the next board meeting, we'll have our regular quarterly financial report to the board, as well as the investment report. And then the timeline, we're hoping to have a workshop, as Dawn mentioned, next month, a budget workshop, a non-action item, but to discuss the budget and go through it in detail. The other thing I want the board aware of is the big change since last board meeting is we have reopened the lobby to customers and people coming in. We are redoing turnoffs again since COVID on that, but the customer service is doing the same outstanding job they do, and we're doing that. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Eric, for the
Nothing
same.
to report.
Great. Abby?
I'm just gonna add on to Dawn's because we did have such a great time over meeting with our partners across the river, but I was happy that I got to meet in person Stacy Lawler at CCWD, my HR counterpart there. And we've been talking over the phone and sharing emails all year, every year for at least the last 8 years. And so it was a pleasure to meet her, and it's good to be able to have these partners and be able to not have to reinvent the wheel. And when we were going through a lot of some of the same issues, and
things with our staff and how we implement policies and things and what works over there and what might work here. So anyway, it was just a great opportunity to get over there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Great. Any other sharing? Okay. I think Glenn's left, and so Corey's doing his thing. All right, directors, who would like to go first?
I guess, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. On 3/24, the GM and I, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, went out and visited and observed the TUD crews working on the Twain Hart Interceptor project. And our operations manager can probably fill in a lot on this, but having been on the board at the time the Interceptor first came up as possibly being a really big issue and was going to cost, I can't remember how much, but it was a ton of money to inspect it, and we were thinking we might even have to replace it or repair it at the least. It's from everything that I was able to learn out there, this project is really turning out good, really turning out good. And the crews are getting this done for a fraction of what we were told by an outside group was going to cost to do it. So kudos to the crew. I mean, it's just amazing. 3/29, had a meeting with Matt from Raftelis, and it was, I gave him a few ideas for the slideshow that he's putting together, that our GM is going to have the fun of presenting to the public, and also gave him some ideas on talking points. Then on 4/7, Mountain Counties Water Resource Association Governance Committee meeting. I won't elaborate on that because President Balin is the secretary for that group, and she was involved in that, so I'll let you elaborate on that. But basically, it was the governance group reviewed the 2 possible new board members, and boy, looks like we're gonna have 2 really, really talented, good new board members on Mountain County. That's it for me.
Thank you, Ron. Go ahead, Director Kearns.
Sure. Yeah, on March 31st, I too met with Matt from Raftelis, phone call, and gave him some input. Also on April the 5th, I was invited to the 2Care board meeting, and they wanted just a general TUD update, and I shared with them the items on our Tuolumne County Our Water, Our Future website, the video and the FAQ section, and they were very receptive to that. And they also the Glenn Gottschall was there from the Fire Safe Council, and the council would like to come to a future TUD meeting and do a presentation, maybe 20 minutes or so, and just to show us what they're into, and looking for a little support. And I think it'd be a good thing myself, and because all of us working together on those fire issues can't be a bad thing.
That's right.
All right, so maybe we could get that some.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's really timely because I was saw somewhere I was reading that they have it was the insert in the newspapers where it was that they now changed their name to Tuolumne County Fire Safe Council from the Highway 108 because they're serving the whole county. So it'd be very interesting to see what they're planning on doing.
And that's all I have.
Great. Okay, either Director Boatright or Director Murphy?
I have no reports at this time.
Okay, thank you. Director Murphy?
Yeah, I have been doing my meetings with GM Perkins, touring going to different places in the district. And so this go round, we went and toured a lot of the reclamation side of things. And so looked out at the ranch lands where our treated wastewater gets utilized. And went out to Quartz Reservoir and then swung by the wastewater treatment plant to see how things were going there with the construction. So it's a great tour on that end of things. And yeah, I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm convinced she's bound and determined to get me in shape because every time we do this, we go on a hike.
What can I say?
Oh, that's a good segue. Yes, I too had a discussion with Ralph Tellis. I don't have the date in front of me, but I think it was around the same time. As Ron talked about mountain counties, we've been really busy and we're gearing up. We did recommend and vote on two new directors to replace two that left. And what I wanted to focus on though was a couple of things. Shout out to the Ledge Committee for reworking some of our policy principles for mountain counties. Just what they worked on and the board approved was water policy and principles like to improve water quality and quantity, enhance habitats and ecosystems, recreation and watersheds, lower risk to rural counties, public safety and infrastructure, reduced impacts of wildfire and climate change, creation of resilient forests and communities, and increased carbon sequestration. So it's a real watershed approach, and also in other documents, of course, it's our number one thing is to protect our water rights, and that's why we were formed. To kind of tag on to these field trips, which I really agree with Director Murphy, they're very important to take folks that even don't even live here to be introduced to the scale of our watersheds and our water collection and the force of water that we utilize and benefit from before it's commoditized to drink or use in wastewater. And with that, we have partnered with Mesa Water District, Mountain Counties, and we are putting together a California United Water Conference, and we're going to be touring the Caldor fire, looking at the watershed conditions, and of course that's the WUI interface as well. So that's going to be on June 22nd to 24th. These cool tours are bus trips, like with an overnight, and but we are all mixing with. We're hoping to get Wade Crowfoot. He's a governor-appointed executive of the Resources Department. Probably didn't say that right, but and some other ones from Department of Water Resources. So it gives us an opportunity as we're riding around in these buses to have these informal discussions about the watershed, hike around, get out, take a look at the amazing expanse of burnt areas and recovery and water sustainability and management post-disaster recovery. So it points back to what TUCARE is doing. We're trying to take a look at this before we burn to minimize our post-fire or post-disaster costs. So I hope we, or some of us go on the Caldor tour. They're really, really neat. You get to make good connections and hopefully influence the direction of the state. So I think that's it. And I just wanted to say again, that was really great work that the Ledge Committee and Governance did on those policy principles.
Thank you.
You really did a good job.
We've worked on that for quite a
And
while.
thank you to Rick Lind also. He's part of that committee.
Yeah.
So it's really good. Oh yes, I met with the general manager and two of our supervisors to have a kind of a cook's tour of TUD, and Eric Johnson was there. That was great. We introduced them to some of the staff, and that was really important for them to see our working operation. We sat down, they had questions, And we did discuss lending them equipment perhaps, or people, the mutual aid thing, and they thought that was an excellent idea. So I'm sure there'll be more on that, and we're hoping that other supervisors will take a tour and be able to look at our system and get to know it, since they're involved in the planning aspect. So with that.
Who were the two guys?
Yeah, sure. It was Jaren Brandon and Kathleen Hamm.
Good.
Yeah, they had real good questions. And with that, is there any other comments, concerns, questions? Members of the public? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then I will adjourn today's meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.